All right, hey, Algebra 1, here's what I got. I got 1.5. We're almost done. There's only 3 sides here. 3 slides, and we're done. Okay, so let me show you what's going on. This will go super quick. Here's the direction. It says solve for the equation for y. Okay, now, if you look at this, I have a y right here. And I also have an x. So really, imagine this. Pretend that x didn't exist. Would you know what to do to get y by itself? Yeah, we'd have to get rid of the 3 and we have to get rid of the 4. Remember, we usually get rid of pluses and minuses first. So I will subtract 4 to both sides. And out of 9 minus 4 is 5. And then we'll do the multiplication division. The inverse operation of this multiplication is to divide. All right, and so this will go away, and you got 5 over 3. That's your answer. Now, I'm going to treat this the same way, okay? It looks like a way different problem because you got an x there, but it's really not, okay? First thing I did was I got rid of this plus 4. Now I got a 4x. How do you want to get rid of the 4x? Well, instead of adding a 4, we subtracted a 4. Let's do the same thing. Let's subtract a 4x, and let's subtract a 4x. All right, and so what happened? The 3y came down above. I'm going to do the same thing. I'll bring down the 3y. Now, this is going to be the hardest part for you, okay? Is that here, I took 9 minus 4, and I knew that was 5. But here, you cannot subtract these, okay? You can't subtract 9 and something with an x, okay? So the only way you can subtract something from a 4x is if the 9 also had an x with it, which it doesn't. So all I'm going to do is rewrite this horizontally. I'm just going to say 9 minus 4x. And that's going to feel very incomplete to you, but it's okay. That's right. Okay. All right. Last thing I did was take this 3 times and I divided by 3. Divide the whole thing by 3 right here. And if you do that, these will go away. And you are done. And you just rewrite this answer. And not think twice. All right. Same thing if I had this. Let me go above here. If I had 3y, let's just pretend that's a 1. Minus 1 equals 9. 2 steps. Let's add and subtract first. So let us do the reverse of subtract 1, which is add 1. Okay. Your 3y will come down. This will cancel. That's why we do this. And this is just 9 plus 1, which is 10. You could write that if you want. Last step, divide by what's with the y, 3. Okay, so this, in a nutshell, is your answer. 9 plus 1, which is 10, divided by 3. So if I did the same thing with the one below it, okay, I got to get this y by itself. So here's my line. If I want to get rid of this 1, I added 1, so let me do the same thing here. But I'm not adding 1 here. I'm going to add the opposite of x. Opposite of subtract x is add x. Okay, so these will go away. 3y will come down, and you're left with this item to the right here, okay? And don't combine them, just combine them this way. Just say, hey, this is 9 plus x, and then you're gonna stop, okay? 9 plus x, write it that way. And now we're gonna get rid of the 3. 3 times y, let's divide by 3. And don't divide like 9 by 3, just leave it like this, 9 plus x over 3, done, okay? 2 left, all right? Same idea. Typically, we have to get rid of this thing first, but this is the y. I want to keep the y, all right? So we're not going to get rid of the 2y here. We're going to get rid of this guy, okay? The y is what you have to get by itself. So let us subtract a 2x. Okay, this is the thing that has to go because, again, we're solving for y. All right, so on the right side, I got negative 2x plus 5. Okay, now what comes down? Be careful, because it's not just the 2y that comes down, it is a negative 2y. This whole subtract 2y. Okay, so bring that whole guy down. All right, and then you want to divide. Okay, so divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. And so then you just write this top piece on top and the bottom piece on the bottom. All right. All right, last one. Again, it says y. Y is on the right side here. You're like, oh no. No big deal. It's still 2 steps, just like the other ones, all 2 steps. So what is, what's with it that I don't want to get rid of first? Well, I don't want to get rid of the 4 first. I want to get rid of the item that I'm adding or subtracting to it. And so I have this 8x. Let's get rid of this guy. And the opposite of a positive 8x is a negative 8x. Okay, and again, I can't subtract those because one has x's and one doesn't. So let's put the 8x out front. Let's put a plus 20 behind it. And I'm going to set that equal to the y term that I got, which is 4y. And then you're going to divide by what's with the y, which is 4. Okay, and then I'm just going to rewrite this, negative 8x plus 20 over 4. I will share this. What they may have us do is they may have us reduce this, okay? So can you think of a number that goes into both 4 and 8 and 20? And if you said 2, that's good, but there's a little bit bigger number that goes into all those evenly, and that is 4. So here's what I'm gonna do, just make this a little bit more clean. If it's your homework, I'm totally okay with this, all right? But I don't know how clever we'll answer these. It could be that they want something a little bit more reduced. Okay, so if I divide all these terms by 4, 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and there's already a negative there. And 20 divided by 4 is 5. So your final answer is negative 2x plus 5. Don't forget that negative. All right. Well, that made sense. If not, backtrack this one, okay, or just rewind it a little bit and see if we can make sense with some problems that were confusing, okay? The big thing is these top things. You don't have to change these. You just leave them the way they are. And that's uncomfortable for some, but it's just how they're done. Okay, now, these all have a twist to it, okay? Here's what they'll say. They're going to say, ooh, I don't know what I just did, but they're going to say solve for x, new letter, okay? Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the second one, because you're going to find that this works out kind of nice. What you're going to do is you're going to pull out an x. I'm going to undistribute, if that makes sense. And I'm going to undistribute an x and see what I get. Okay, so if I take out an x from both of these, ask yourself what's left over. Well, if I take out the x from the first guy, I'm just left with 5. If I take out an x from the second guy, I'm left with a 4. And 5 minus 4 is 1. And x times 1 is just x. Okay, and that's all you do. So let me do one that's a little bit more sophisticated here. Okay, notice these both have an x with it. Okay, there's a big plus sign in the middle, and I'm surrounded by terms that both have an x. And what I'm going to do is ask you to pull out your x. I'm going to recopy the sign, whatever it may be. Okay, and then I'm going to ask you, once you take this x away from the first guy, what's left over? Well, if I take this x out, I'm just left with a 3. And if I pull an x out from the second group, what am I left with? Well, 5 and a z. Okay, now, new step. How do you get this garbage to the right away from the x? Because that's what we're doing. We're solving for x. Okay, and the way you get rid of this garbage to the right of it is by doing the opposite operation. Remember, when you factor something out, like an x, what's left over is this times sign between that and the parenthesis, and that means you're going to divide. So 3 plus 5z and 3 plus 5z. And that is what my x is equal to. Like, that's kind of awkward, this piece, and I agree with you. So let's practice that again, okay? All right, so let me look at my items that have x's with it. There's an x right here. There's an x right here, okay? When you have two terms that have x's here and they can be combined, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out what they have in common. And then again, just like before, They each have an x in common. Recopy the sign. All right, and I'm going to do Sun Devil Gold here with that purple. Now, let's do a different color, blue. Okay, so pull up the x on the outside, and then ask yourself, if I take this x away from the first term, that goes away, what do I have left? A 2. Similarly, if I have an x and a k here, and I pull out the x, what's left over? K. And that's equal to m. Remember, there's a symbol here. There's really a time sign there. And so if I want to get x by itself, I'm going to do the same thing that I did over here to the right. I'm going to divide. Okay, and then over here, same thing, 2 plus k. And that is it. Okay. Last one is a tiny bit different. Here's my equal to sign. And you're like, cool, I have, oh, crud. I don't know why it does that. Okay, so there's my equal to sign. And let's see, I've got a 5k. I've got, sorry, 5x. I have a minus kx. I have a 3. Like, hey, there is no x here. Can I do that step? Can I pull out an x like I did before? And you can't yet, all right? And the reason why is because there's no x here. You have to have an x with everything in order to pull it out, okay? So here's what I want to do. I want to get rid of this 3 because I only want x's over here, which is what we've been talking about since day 1. We want x's on the left side or the right side. But if I have x's on the left, I don't want anything else that's not an x on the left side here. All right, so let's get rid of the 3. How do I get rid of this positive 3? Well, let's just subtract it. All right, so I've got 5x minus kx equals, now y minus 3, you can't subtract those, so you just write y minus 3. And now you have a problem kind of like you had over here, okay? And again, you'll ask yourself, let's pull out what they have in common, which is an x, and recopy the sign. All right, and what's left over? Well, if I pull this x away, there's still a 5. Okay, subtract. If you pull this x away, there's still a k. And that's equal to y minus 3. Okay, so again, we're pulling out an x, but I can only do that if all my items here on the left have an x with it. And after that, the rest is easy. You just got to divide by this whole item, divide by 5 minus k. Okay, so x is equal to y minus 3 over 5 minus k. And we are done. All right, take a moment, kind of absorb that. If it doesn't make sense, rewatch it. It only took a minute or 2. It doesn't take very long to look at. And if you're cool with this, then you can go to this final slide, okay? Yeah, final slide, can you believe that? All right, so the surface area of a prism is this monster. Oh, don't do that, okay. This is maroon. Here's what it says. It says solve for L. L, here's L. Here's an L. No L over here. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite it. S is equal to 2LW plus 2LH plus 2WH. Okay, and you got to solve for this guy, that L, and basically that L. And what's too bad is you have too much stuff on this right side. Okay, and while L's are good, this dude is not. Okay, so we got to get rid of it. And how are we going to get rid of it? Well, the opposite of add 2WH is to subtract 2WH. And I got to do it to both sides. Okay, and so that'll leave me with, on this left side, and it'll look kind of ugly, S minus 2WH. Like, man, do I have to write all that stuff? Yeah. okay? All right, and again, we're solving for L. So here's L. We had these X's on the side before, where what we'd have to do is we'd have to get rid of the L by moving it to the outside. Okay, so here's your L, moving it to the outside. There's your plus that you're recopying from right here. I'm gonna do this in some level gold. And if I pull out an L, what's left over? Well, I have 2W. And if I pull out the L for the second piece, it's 2H. Okay, and I'll set that equal to S minus 2W. Sorry, S minus 2WH. Okay, almost done here. S. Okay. All right, now how do I get rid of this stuff behind the L? Well, I'm going to divide. And that's 2W plus 2H. Let me put that in parentheses. And then I'm going to do that over here too. 2W plus 2H. Okay, those will go away. And you got L is equal to this last piece, S minus 2WH all over what you have on the bottom, 2W plus 2H. And again, it's basically this guy right here, right there. Okay. I'm not going to do the second one because it's basically the same thing. Okay, well, maybe I'll start off. I'll say S is equal to 2LW plus 2LH plus 2WH. Okay, and here's the idea. You got to solve for W now. So you're like, well, that's cool. I've got a couple W's here. I've got one right here. And I've got one, well, not here. I've got one right here. And so again, you're going to do this one like you did above, but instead of having L's, you're doing it with W's. So I have to get rid of the thing that does not have a, well, before it was an L, but the one that doesn't have a W. Okay, so let's get rid of the thing that doesn't have a W, and that's this guy. I'm going to say minus 2LH. That's an L. It's a cursive L. I do that so it doesn't look like a 1. All right, and then I got to do what I did before. If I'm solving for W, and these terms both have W in it, let's pull out a W. So that's 2L plus 2H. Okay, and the last step is divide. Okay, and your final answer is this guy right there. As ugly as it is, check over it, go very slowly with it, okay, because it's just kind of a mess, okay. It's really easy to forget one of these things and not include it because you see so many closer terms around the other ones that makes you feel like you've already included it. So just be careful when you write your answer. All right, this one's easier, okay? That was about as ugly as you get, I think. This one's better. Solve for H. Now, I'm going to put little time signs here. And here's the deal. I got to get rid of everything else but this H. I got to get rid of a half, and I got to get rid of the B. Okay, how am I going to do that? Well, how do I get rid of a half? Well, the reciprocal of a half is 2 over 1. And whatever I do to one side, I'm going to multiply it by the other. And 2 over 1 is just the same as 2. Okay, so I got 2a is equal to, these guys went away. That's why I did that step, b times h. And then you have to get rid of the h. So, well, sorry, you got to solve for the h. Got to get rid of the b. How am I going to get rid of the b? Well, since it's being multiplied by the h, I'm going to divide. Okay, so h is equal to 2a over little b. Next one wouldn't be much different, okay? It's the same idea. Let me recopy it. A equals 1/2 b times h. And in this case, you are solving for b. Okay, so what does that mean? You have to get rid of the half, and you have to get rid of the h. Okay, and this is a times h. So How do I get the half being multiplied by the b? You multiply it by the reciprocal, 2 over 1. 2 over 1 is just 2, times a is 2a. And this is b times h. And again, if I'm solving for b, that means I got to get this b by itself. All right, so the way I'm going to do that is get rid of the item next to it, which is the h, by division. The inverse operation of multiply is divide. Okay, and so these go away. And your final answer is B. I'll write that part first. 2a over h. All right. Hopefully that made sense. If not, again, backtrack a little bit. See if what I said a second time to you is a little bit more clear. All right. All right, here's the last one for the entire chapter. Okay, solve for L, and L is right here. And I'm going to ask myself, to get L by itself, do I need to pull something out? Okay, you typically only pull stuff out if you're solving for that letter. So since there are no L's over on the left side, okay, I'm just going to get rid of this guy its own way. Okay, and if this was like a 6 here, the way you get rid of it is you would like subtract a 6, because this is what's being added and subtracted to this item right here. Okay, the item that has the L with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the pi r squared to both sides. Where are you at? Where are you at? There we go. Okay, so let's subtract pi r squared. And minus pi r squared. Okay, so on this left side, I can't do much with that. It's just s minus pi r squared. Okay, and then is equal to, and then you have to bring this whole guy down. And the part you have to be careful about is whatever sign here also comes down here. And it is a plus sign, so it's just pi r l. And what is being done to the operation with this L that we're solving for? Well, you're multiplying by R and you're multiplying by pi. So the inverse operations of multiplication are division. So I will divide by pi and R and pi and R. Okay, and that makes these go away. You're left with an L. And then you can recopy it. You can really just box it and stop if you want. But I'm just going to write it as I saw it. And this is s minus pi r squared. All right, so the problems aren't very long, and this lesson isn't very long, but it's a little elaborate, okay? But if you can treat it like the other ones that we've done and not be too intimidated by secondary letters or symbols like pi's, and just pretend like they're normal numbers and move them by add, subtraction, or multiplication, division like we did other work, then it's not that bad. And you're going to find it's going to go super, super quick, okay? It really tests your idea of, do you understand your order for solving equations, okay? All right, if you have some questions, let me know. Send me an email, okay? And I can meet with you in Google Meets, or I can maybe answer your question over the email. I can do that too. But holler at me if you have some questions. This is the last part of 1.5, and that means after this, we're going to take our quiz shortly after that, okay? All right, I hope you're having a good day, and again, let me know if I can help you.